Welcome to the second piece in our series. Today, we will be chatting about periods, poverty, and plastic cups. So particularly focusing on the girl child, which is fitting because this October, we celebrate the International Day of the Girl Child. In my first piece, we discussed the concept of the birth lottery, a random allocation at birth. So a baby girl is born somewhere at some time to some person and eventually grows up to be a little girl. The next significant point in their life cycle is puberty. Puberty is announced by changes, including the onset of the first menstrual bleed, aka periods, and on average, this happens around 9 to 11 years. In many societies, this marks a transition into womanhood. And I wonder if this is when little girls begin to become threats to the world. There are widespread cross-cultural taboos around periods, and many of us will have a period story or two. And it may be a story of newness, being caught off guard, transition, often embarrassment. And these stories and memories, they accompany us to the hidden aisles of the pharmacies and chemists on our quest for sanitary products to manage our menstrual hygiene. And these stories are shrouded in mystery and shame, which we inherit from society and our aunties and sisters and mothers. So some cultures, menstrual rights are actually considered sacred and empowering, and they give space for women apart from the male gaze. I would argue that such narratives are important in reclaiming the position of girls and achieving gender equity. So why is period parity essential to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals? Achieving gender equality is one of the Sustainable Development Goals. And according to UNESCO, before the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, about 60% of girls in all low-income countries around the world finish primary school. And globally, in 75% of countries, girls and boys have equal primary school attendance rates. This means that in 3 out of 4 countries, there is gender parity for primary school attendance. And some of you might be surprised by this, but I'm sure you will not be surprised when I say that these figures are likely to worsen because of the disproportionate impact the pandemic has had on girls and women. Girls miss about 10 to 20% days off at school, or they stop attending school due to period-related issues. And these issues may range from heavy periods, painful periods, irregular periods, or an inability to pay for period products. In the USA, 1 in 5 girls will miss school because they cannot pay for period products. And in Scotland, this figure is as high as 1 in 4. We also know that participation in sport dwindles and a young girl's confidence can be impacted by their experience of menstruation. Now, everybody wins when girls complete primary and secondary school. Girls who stay in school are more confident, they are less likely to experience child marriage or experience domestic abuse or suffer long-term health issues. Furthermore, if they choose to, they are more likely to have fewer children and can really invest resources in their future generation. So what do periods, poverty, and plastic cups have in common? Well, the answer is the environment. And if you don't understand that reference, maybe check out my last blog. For context, there is no country in the world today with a life expectancy less than 50 years. And that is based on statistics from the IHME. So let's say, the average female will have periods every month, lasting about 3 to 7 days between the ages 13 until 51. This is quite a modest estimate, but they will have essentially around 456 periods during their life. This is equivalent to spending 6 years, 3 months, or 2,280 days of your life bleeding. So if you menstruate on average over the course of your lifetime, you will also throw away around 200 kilograms of period products and spend up to $24,000 on period products. Disposal of single-use products generates 200,000 tons of non-biodegradable waste every year. And some of this will end up in landfill or in our water supplies and in our food chain. So single-use disposable period products threaten our environment and education and equity of the girl child because they are just too expensive. A survey from Plan International UK found that 1 in 10 girls in the UK were unable to afford period products. And during the lockdown in 2020, this increased to 3 in 10 girls. For this reason, we applaud policy changes such as the 2020 Period Products Free Provision Bill in Scotland. And this bill was passed unanimously and requires local authorities to ensure that period products are generally obtainable free of charge. And schools and colleges must provide these products freely to their students and strategically place them in the designated public places. So we know reusable period products are cheaper, they're safe, they're acceptable, and they're great alternatives to girls across the world. So I'll share two qualitative studies which highlight this. The first is from Uganda, and then the second is from Nepal. So the first from Uganda was a qualitative study conducted following the menstruation and poverty trial, and it compared girls' experiences of menstruation in rural Uganda at the conclusion of a trial around puberty education and reusable sanitary pad provision. And this study was done to sort of understand the pathways of effect with regards to these interventions. And then the second qualitative study was an acceptability study of the use of the menstrual cup amongst schoolgirls in Nepal. So the one in Uganda looked at reusable menstrual pads, and in Nepal we're looking at the menstrual cups. And both of them found that the reusables were very acceptable. Girls described feeling more confident and reported higher school attendance as well. So the question is, what do girls want and need to have a dignified period? Another qualitative study in Zambia and Rwanda explored the views of not only schoolgirls, but schoolboys, community and school teachers around menstrual hygiene, as it is called. And there were three key themes that came out. One, access to affordable and comfortable period products is absolutely important. Access to water, hygiene, and sanitation, aka wash facilities in schools, is critical. And thirdly, access to friendly and safe environments that do not lead to embarrassment, fear, or being teased, and make girls feel like they're able to ask questions about their periods is, again, very, very important. And these things are not rocket science. So we can keep girls in school by providing easy access to dignified, affordable, and sustainable period products that don't cost the earth. And empowered, educated girls grow up to be empowered women who can contribute meaningfully to their families, their communities, society, and the economy at large. Marketing companies, they profit off our shame and secretive narratives associated with menstruation, and we pay the price in expensive period products that also cost us our environment. So we must challenge this. I mean, after listening to this, you might be thinking, what can I do? Well, if you have periods, I would consider swapping to reusable period products. The environment and your purse will thank you. And inspired by the Scottish example, why not write to your local policymaker asking that period products are provided free in our educational institutions? And remember that everybody wins when girls stay in school. I'll see you next time.